Good day, inmates. Hope everybody is okay and staying sane. We think we're suffering, and some of us are, do have true sufferings. But we're going to talk about a different suffering today, which is the slave trade ending. So we're going to read about the work of the abolitionists. And the activity that goes along with this is your parents are going to treat you like a prisoner for an hour every day this week. That's the activity. April Fools. Okay, so the work of the abolitionists. All over Europe and both Americas and in the countries in between, men seem to be talking and thinking and writing about equality. And all over Europe and both Americas and in the countries in between, men own slaves. Why? That's the question that abolitionists, men and women who wanted slavery abolished or made illegal, asked. In his essays about natural law, John Locke had written that every human being has the right to life, health, liberty, and possession. All right, so I'm going to attempt to show you some stuff without burning anything. That's the goal. All right, so here's John Locke. And a quote of his was, "I have always thought the actions of men the best interpretations of their thoughts." All right, so in his essays about natural law, John Locke had written that every human being has the right to life, health, liberty, and possession. Weren't Africans human beings? And didn't an African slave have a natural right to be free? In England, so look at your map. And so you can circle this area on your map. In England, the Quakers had been insisting for a long time that slavery was wrong. But now more and more English began to agree that slavery should be made illegal. Anti-slavery associations sprang up. So a Quaker is a member of the Religious Society of Friends, a Christian movement founded by George Fox devoted to peaceful principles. Central to the Quakers' belief is the doctrine of the inner light or sense of Christ's direct working in the soul. This has led them to reject both formal ministry and all sets of forms of worship. Okay, Their members wrote accounts of slavery and published them so that no one in England could claim that they did not know about the plight of the slaves. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, wrote, "Banished from their country, from their friends and relations forever, from every comfort of life, they are reduced to a state scarce, any way preferable to that of beasts of burden. In general, a few roots are their food, and 2 rags that neither screen them from the heat of the day nor the cold of the night are their covering. Their sleep is very short, their labor continual, and frequently above their strength, so that death sets many of them at liberty before they have lived out half their days. They are attended by overseers who whip them most unmercifully, so that you may see their bodies long after they willed and scarred, usually from the shoulders to the waist. Did the Creator intend that the noblest of creatures in the visible world should live in such a life as this?" Former slaves published stories of their lives. "I was abandoned to despair," wrote the freed slave Oloda Equiano, describing his journey across the Atlantic Ocean on a slave ship. So draw a line. Here. From Africa to, let's see, where was he? I now saw myself deprived of all chance of returning to my native country, or even the least glimpse of hope of gaining the shore. With the loathsomeness of the stench and the crying together, I became so sick and low that I was not able to eat, nor had I the least desire to taste anything. I now wished for the last friend, death, to relieve me. So you can, I can't remember where he ended up. So you can draw a line from Africa to Europe or England area, and then you can draw a line from Africa to the United States. Okay, so here's a picture of Equiano. And this is a couple, the front page of his book. Here is a picture of how many people were in a slave ship. So many of them, as they were placed on the ship, had chains about their neck, wrists, and ankles. And they only had enough space, like a cabin space. So here's a picture of all of the bodies that just had to just stay in one spot during their voyage. Stories like these turn more and more British against slavery, but Parliament still refused to make slavery illegal. English merchant ships made too much money selling slaves. Abolitionists in the United States had an even harder job in front of them. The Constitution of the United States itself said that slaves weren't really people. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence had announced, "All men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights." All right, I'm going to show you this picture as I'm reading along. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But when the United States Constitution was written less than 10 years later, the delegates had decided that an American slave was not really a person. In fact, the delegates agreed that when states counted their people, 5 slaves would count as 3 whole people. Each African slave was worth 3/5 of the white person.